White Sox fans, and welcome into a late night edition of the Sox On Tap podcast. It's Tony Marchese alongside Sox Insane, Mr. Besnik. Was a 5-1 loss out in LA. Not fun. Besnik, how you doing?
I'm all right. It's just a brutal, abysmal game today. But this is what we've come to expect from the White Sox lately.
That it is. And we're gonna quickly break this one down. It's a little late. I see you're enjoying an adult beverage, as am I, Besnik, and that's what happens after Lance Lynn pitches. But before we get to it, be sure you're following the show at Sox On Tap on Twitter. You can follow my guy Besnik here at Sox Insane, myself at Tony On Tap. Join us in the YouTube. That's youtube.com/OnTapSportsNet. Make sure you like and subscribe. And join us in the comments here. We'll feature comments on the show. Besnik, as I said, 5-1 loss. The lone run for the White Sox comes in the top of the ninth inning via a slack fly. And most of the damage done early by the Dodgers. Over 2 home runs there in the first off of Lance Lynn, both of those 2-run shots. Let's talk about how bad Lance Lynn looked tonight. I'll give you the floor here, sir.
He looked as bad as he's been. He's been ice cold. He's stayed ice cold. It's every time a Lance Lynn start, and every Lance Lynn start, it's just the first inning. If you blink, in a blink of an eye, you've got a 3, 4, 5-run deficit to, a pair of 2-run homers in the first. One by Peralta and the other one by Will Smith. And, there's just no life on the fastball. There's not a whole lot of movement on any of those pitches. He's not fooling anybody. I hate to say this, but he did settle in after that. And, didn't really give up much the rest of that game. But too little, too late. You give up 4 in the first, and that's what happens. So it's looking rough for Lance.
Looking very rough. He did sort of settle into this after the damage was done. Those 4 runs are the only earned runs he gave up there in the first. Did strike out 6 over 5 innings of work. He did work himself into a bit of trouble there and had to be relieved by Garrett Crochet after, I believe that was 105 pitches. Crochet looked all right. I think this was, his most decent appearance that we've seen from Garrett Crochet since coming back. He did go 2 innings, does give up 2 hits, but he struck out 3. They kind of held him there for what felt like a little while to stay in this game. However, 1 run does come in the 6th inning. White Sox offense just abysmal again, Besnik, absolutely abysmal. There was some stuff that came out before this game. Tim Anderson made an appearance on a podcast. A lot of chatter about Tim Anderson on the pregame show from Ozzie Guillen, Chuck Garfien. He goes hitless in today's ball game. Does draw 1 walk. Andrew Benintendi also goes hitless. Luis Robert looked decent at the plate today. I would say he drew himself a walk as well, but also hitless. Your top 3 guys in your order go hitless. That is not a very good recipe for success, Besnik. And as you can see here, all zeros across the board up until the 9th inning when they can get that 1 in via the sac fly. I'm tired of watching that. I didn't think that Gonsolin was going to be as much of a problem, although he's looked fairly good this year. He's sitting there at 4-1 with a 1.93 ERA after this one, Bez. And we did nothing but help that number look even better.
Yeah. 3 hits, 2 walks. Only one of those hits came off of the relief pitching. That was Vaughn's double in the 9th. And, we kind of got that run awkwardly because on that comebacker to Taylor Scott, he threw to third instead of just getting the out at first. So maybe that run doesn't even cross the plate. But, the top of the lineup is bad. Nobody's really swinging a hot bat. Like, we had Berger there for a while and Robert for a while. Nobody's swinging a hot bat. Vaughn had a couple of hits, which is nice. That's good to see. But again, TA, the podcast he went on before that, he was subject of a lot of discussion in the pregame that I know you were able to take in before the action today. And he's just starting to seem like a distraction at this point. Not only is he just bad at the plate, bad in the field, he's just becoming a distraction. I keep hearing Tim Anderson's name and a lot of things going on outside of the game, and what I see on the field is horrendous, and I'm just getting tired of it. So not totally unexpected here. I didn't come in here into this game feeling great with Lance on the mound. I don't know why they put Lance out there in the sixth. He looked like he was done above 90 pitches after the fifth, and they end up getting a run there in the sixth because I don't know why. I don't know what the purpose was to throw him out there with close to 100 pitches in the sixth. He couldn't record it out. They showed it on the broadcast, him kind of lighting up the dugout and throwing some stuff around. So I don't get it. I don't get that move, and I don't get this team. I don't know what's going on.
I don't really get this team either, Besnik, and I talk about them quite a bit on these airwaves, and it's been frustrating. And I normally am on here with Steve Bez, and I think this might be our first or second show that we've gotten to do this season together. I know we had a couple last season, but I will say this, and I want to gauge where you're at with it too, because I think there was a lot of distractions that came over the last 2 days. You've got Tim Anderson on this podcast that he goes on and addresses some of the rumors that are going on and swirling about his personal life. Here's a quote from that. It's something I'm still trying to get through, trying to master it to get to the point where I'm okay walking in it, stepping in it. You've got Bob Nightingale appearing on 670 The Score this morning, talking about how they have to blow this up, and that Pedro Grifol has done nothing for this team. Obviously, he threw in some Tony La Russa quotes, or Tony La Russa jabs into that as well. Not quotes, but jabs. You've got this team that has been hot and cold. The cold has been ice cold, and I would say the hot has been lukewarm at best at certain times. They're unable to string together wins. You can draw parodies to what took place in Oakland tonight with the reverse boycott that took place over in Oakland. And I felt like there was more chatter on the White Sox Twitter timeline in regards to the Oakland Athletics fans showing up and putting on a display for their owner. Then there were actual talk about what was going on in this White Sox game. I don't know if that's because it was a 9 p.m. start out in LA. However, most of the discourse that I've seen around this team has largely now centered not around the ball game, but around the team and the direction of where it is going. And that's not a good place to be. It's not a very good place to be. I know you're a big Bulls fan, well-versed in Bulls than I am. Another Jerry Reinsdorf-owned organization. But I feel like we're at the breaking point in this for a lot of people. In terms of how much time and effort they're putting into watching these games, attending these games. Maybe it came a little earlier for some, but as this team continues to sleepwalk through this schedule and get hammered by opponents who are also sleepwalking, there was plenty of times where this White Sox team tonight could have taken advantage of mistakes made by the Dodgers, and they were unable to, outside of one sac fly in the ninth. But for all intents and purposes, I need to ask you this one. Where are you at as a White Sox fan on this journey with this team that was supposed to be good, Besnik. I haven't had the chance to sit down on this show and ask you where you are at right now as a Sox fan.
I'm ready to move on from most of this core of players. I talked about it with Buzz about we got into Moncada and that discussion. And I'm just ready to move on from most of these players. This team has shown year after year that they can't win. We did sneak into the playoffs. Well, I shouldn't say we snuck in. We won the division and got annihilated in the first round. And it's been all downhill since then. So we know this team can't win. They don't have the talent. They don't have the consistency of being in the lineup every day. So I don't feel good about that. I don't have a lot of time in my life anymore to go to a lot of games. I'm at 5 or 6 games a year. And that's really all I need to be at, because even if I had the time, there's a lot of other things you could be doing in your summer than watching a team that produced, 3 hits tonight, 3 hits and 2 walks and 1 run. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And, like to your point, we've got TA on a podcast talking about his personal life. We've got, what was the other thing you mentioned?
The Bob Nightingale radio
the Bob Nightingale thing, where he's kind of laying blame on the manager, which is very awkward considering this is Rick Hahn's guy. He finally got the manager he wanted and not the manager that was forced on him. So if Bob is speaking on behalf of the organization, I don't know how to make heads or tails of that comment.
You can't. You can't make heads or tails of that comment. Makes zero sense.
And the White Sox are so irrelevant to the baseball world that The Athletic decided that they don't want to dedicate coverage to this team, and cut, James Fegan is no longer there. So, all these things considered, this is just an irrelevant team that very few people still care about. But going back to your point, we can't make heads or tails of that. You don't know where that's coming from. Bob has been right about a lot of things White Sox related, and he seems to be in, that Jerry Reinsdorf and Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams kind of trio, and talks to those people. So I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what else to say about those comments, but yeah, I mean, I'm still here. I've always been here. I'll always be a White Sox fan. I'll always be watching these games, because I still love this team and still have a glimmer of hope that they can turn it around, but it's only a glimmer of hope.
I sort of echo that with you, Besnik. I'm going to be watching every single one of these games that I can, even if they're eliminated come August. I'll still be following along with this. Maybe I'm sick in the head. Who knows? But the Bob Nightingale stuff. I know we can't make heads or tails of it, but could you just walk down tinfoil hat time with me here? Is there a possibility that he is a 1 season and done manager with this team based off of that comment?
Just the way this season started, especially, I shared that same thought earlier in the year and said, this could be a 1 and done. We could be heading towards that because it was so bad. We were 14 games under. Now we're 10 games under. We started playing better baseball. But that's pretty rare for baseball. I'm trying to think back to other managers that didn't last long, and I can't remember. I mean, I'd have to go through Baseball Reference and find a manager that was fired after 1 year. It seems like something more common in maybe the NFL, but not in baseball. So it could be headed there, depending on the rest of the season goes. But what did he sign? A 3-year deal, 4-year deal?
I'm not sure on the term, but it was just interesting to have a national writer sort of make a mockery of you in this sense, right? And I thought it was an interesting hire. I think everybody who's listened to the show knows my thoughts on Tony La Russa and knew my thoughts on Ricky Renteria. with Pedro Grifol, the body of work isn't large enough, but I thought it was an interesting hire because you were bringing in a guy from an organization that hasn't done a lot. In fact, I think they own the worst record in baseball now tonight after Oakland secured its 7th victory in a row. No major league managerial experience, and you tossed him into basically a powder keg of
Yeah.
complete disarray. I mean, that's what this has been. It's been complete disarray. We talked about all these distractions, and then all of a sudden, the blame gets placed on sort of squarely him in that interview. Outside of the players that are just not playing up to their standards. So
Right.
it's very interesting when you say he's done nothing, and that was the comment from Bob Nightingale. No, he really hasn't done anything. I don't think he's done anything inherently good. I also don't think he's done anything super inherently bad. Every baseball fan is going to disagree with something that their manager does when it comes to two things: lineups and bullpen decisions. That's going to happen no matter what. However, I wonder if it is that bad within the clubhouse to make that statement that he's done nothing here and his job was to come in and shore those things up within the clubhouse and settle this thing down. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but it was just a very interesting comment to come on June 4th or June 13th.
Yep.
That they seem done with Pedro Grifol. I don't know. I can only sit here and speculate with the rest of you. I'm just sort of concerned here because you've also got all of these trade rumors, the talk of blowing this up. What do you even get from some of these guys here? Besnik is one of my ultra concerns from where we're going on the trade deadline. It looks like you are taking us for a walk. There we go. I think he's
Sorry
back.
about that.
No, you're okay.
Sort out some noise. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen come trade deadline. I mean, there is a lot of question marks. There are players that are underperforming that don't have a ton of value. So I had a question. A buddy of mine who's a Cubs fan reached out to me. He's like, "What would you do if you were running the Sox? Are you buying or selling?" And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I mean, you got a guy like Robert who I'd keep, and then you got maybe Lucas Giolito, Kendall Graveman, a couple of guys that you could move. The rest of them, I mean, Andrew Vaughn. I mean, no one's getting excited about these guys. And if they were performing, then you're probably not even having this discussion. You might actually be in the hunt in this terrible division. And then going back to what you said about Grifol, they force-fed this down our throats all off-season. I mean, we covered it at On Tap Sports step by step. All these comments and all the PR work that they did to hype this guy up and say, we're running it back under new management. The TLR is gone. You guys all got what you wanted, and this is going to make a difference. And it didn't. So now what do you do? I don't really have much faith in the leadership of the team to right the ship. So I don't know how the rest of the season's going to go down. It might get ugly.
Yeah, I mean, can Rick Hahn actually be in charge of running this back in some way, shape, or form in terms of a third rebuild? And I don't think we want to even venture down that path tonight, Besnik, but I think that that's a question for everybody to think about as we continue to venture on here. Sox lose this one tonight by a final of 5-1. There's another late ball game tomorrow. Boy, this is going to be something. It's going to be Mike Clevinger against Clayton Kershaw. Yeek.
Yikes.
Let's dig into this. Clevinger 3-4, 4.19 ERA. Kershaw 8-4. He's sitting at 2.95. He struck out 93 hitters. Does Clayton Kershaw hit 100 strikeouts tomorrow against the Chicago White Sox? We'll find out. I think it's highly likely that could be a thing. Clevenger has not fared well against the Dodgers. He spent some time out in San Diego's rotation. I believe he's 0-2. I was digging into the probables. I've got it posted over at ontapsportsnet.com, Besnik. He's been lit up, so to speak, by the Dodgers in his time out there. And there's a decent amount of guys who've touched him up before. And the guy who hit the home run tonight, Will Smith, he's hit 2 bombs off of Clevenger in 7 at-bats so far in his career. This is going to be a real test for Mike Clevenger, and it's also going to be a real test for the White Sox offense. Only 3 guys on this team have faced Clayton Kershaw. That's Yasmani Grandal, Tim Anderson, and Elvis Andrus. And everybody else has not seen him before. So one of the best that's out there going up against a very cold offense. What are your thoughts here? Got a prediction?
Well, it's not going to be good. I don't have much faith in Clevenger here against a team that's roughed him up. I don't have much faith against these cold White Sox bats going up against Kershaw, even if Eloy's in the lineup. So I'm predicting a loss. But also, Tone, I've got some kids upstairs crying, so I'm going to have to run and let you close this one down. Thanks for having me today, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Sounds good, Bez. You ride on out of here. We'll close it down. Sox tomorrow. Another 9:00 ball game. And I'll give my pick to click for tomorrow. It's going to be Tim Anderson. I know we talked a lot about Tim Anderson today. He's got to right the ship at some point. He is one of the only hitters who has faced Clayton Kershaw in this White Sox lineup with some success. That'll be my pick to click for tomorrow. That's all we've got for tonight's show. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow us at Sox On Tap on Twitter. You can follow myself at Tony On Tap. You could follow my co-host from tonight, Besnik, at Sox Insane. And then make sure you're subscribing to the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube. That is youtube.com/OnTapSportsnet. Make sure you come in here, hop in the comments. Thank you for all of you that stayed up, tuned in to the postgame show. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, White Sox forever.